So the Coppa Shell Race 1 then is about to get underway. Races.ferrari.com is the website for you to find out all the information with regards to the Ferrari Challenge, the fantastic 488 Challenge car, and of course the drivers and personalities that form part of the racing. And we always try and give you a hint and a feature, and that's why Aggie Smolka was the feature today. Eric Prinot P1, Christoph Herney P2, then it's Manuela Gosner and Eric Chung, Vladimir Hladek and Thomas Gosner. Complete the first 3 rows of the grid, which is made up of all Shell drivers, and a very good qualifying from Manuela Gosner, another lady racer that's going from P3 on the grid. Best of the AMs, then Alexander Nussbaumer alongside its Ingvar Madsen, then Aggie Smolka, Giuseppe Romelli, Christian Kinch, a welcome return to Christian Kinch, who's missed a couple of rounds, and Murat Kuhadaroglu goes from P12 on the grid, ahead of Corinna Gosner, Maurizio Pittori, Tommy Lindroth, Laurent Demouse, then it's Rick Lovett, and Winterholder will go from P18 on the grid with Dusan Palkra and Fons Skeltermar, who qualified better than last on the grid, but basically had an off. Damaged the car. The car is not able to be used in the race, and therefore he's in a spare car and has to go to the back of the grid. Hopefully that explains why Fons Skeltermar is right at the back of the grid. So our pole sitter then is the Italian racer Eric Prinot.
Misano 2018, probabilmente la mia ultima stagione nel Ferrari Challenge, pole position, più di questo non potevo fare, più di questo non mi aspettavo, forse la mia fortuna è stata proprio l'acqua.
I think what he was saying was, I'm very happy with pole position here at the Misano circuit. So Eric Prinot then, we're on the formation lap as the cars make their way through. I wasn't expecting that in Italian, if I'm honest with you. As the cars make their way through the first sequence of turns, ready to go into this 30-minute race. All the social media is at the top of the screen for you now. There's the Tommy Lindroth car number 127. Laurent Demouse weaving from side to side to generate some temperature into the tyres. Then it's Rick Lovett. Just looking at the back of the grid, I'm not absolutely convinced that Fons Skeltermar is actually on the track. It is showing on our timing screen, but as I say, I am not convinced that he is in a spare car or is indeed on the track. We'll bring you more information as soon as we get it, because he'll soon show up in the timing of the race. But at the moment it says he's on the grid. We knew he would be in a different car to his regular car. He would be right at the back of the grid, but sorry, I looked at all the cars as they came through on that particular camera shot, and I'm not convinced he's there. All the drivers being told that they've got to switch on their lights as the light begins to fall here at the Misano World Circuit. And as always, it's a rolling lap for the start of a Ferrari Challenge race. The safety car will peel off, and then it will be the responsibility of Eric Prinot and Christoph Herney, who will control the pace of the rolling start. So the cars will be asked to form up in grid positions side by side and head towards the start-finish line, where, assuming that race control are happy with the setup and formation, they will be released and the race will get underway. So there you can see now here, just trying to look for the Fons Skeltermar number of 177. I don't see it there. Niklas Nielsen, one of the Trofeo Pirelli drivers, looks on, as do many others, as the race is about to get underway. Surely there has got to be another formation lap, because Christoph Herney was a mile ahead of Eric Prinot. I cannot imagine that they will allow that to be the race start. Unless the start line was not where I thought it was, and Christoph Herney just got a brilliant start over the pole sitter Eric Prinot. I am amazed by that. But we will see, as it would appear that the start is being left alone. Ingvar Madsen runs wide. Corinna Gosner trying to make her way up the order, as also is Fons Skeltermar. He must be out there in a car. And just forgive me, I've not been able to pick up the 177 car at all, but there is the 172 car of Giuseppe Romelli, another one that was very, very good in qualifying and in the free practice session. So the cars on their first lap of asking here at the Misano circuit. A drive-through penalty for car number 162, Christoph Ernie. I'm really not surprised by that because he was many car lengths ahead of the pole sitter Eric Prinot. And to be fair, I thought that they would send the cars around for another formation lap, but they've decided no. It was Christoph Ernie at fault, and therefore he will be the one that will be penalised rather than go through the whole start sequence all over again. So Christoph Ernie gets a drive-through penalty, so he is the nominal race leader, but it is Eric Prinot that will be the true race leader, if you like, from Eric Chung in P2, Manuela Kostner in P3. So now that we know that Rick Lovett is, that Von Skeltermar is out there on track, he's one to keep very much an eye on because he'll be trying to cut his way through the pack like a hot knife through butter. So all the cars should have their lights on now. One or two cars haven't got their lights on, which may mean that they might pick up a penalty or two. Leonard Winterholder has dropped down, and Christoph Herney has come into the pit lane, so he will be serving his drive-through penalty straight away. So Murat Kuhadaroglu, there's Aggie Smolka running a bit wide with fellow lady Corinna Gostner right behind her. Here comes Christoph Herney then taking his drive-through penalty for what was, well, it was a jump start plus some, to be truthful. So what challenges have we got going on here? Thomas Gostner is behind Vladimir Hladik. So Vladimir Hladik, who is running in P4 at the moment, he's got the attention of Thomas Gostner right behind him, and behind Thomas Gostner is the hard-charging Giuseppe Romelli. As I said, Giuseppe Romelli is another driver that has shown promise in the free practice and qualifying sessions, and Christian Kinch is back here on track as well. And now Eric Prinot is coming under some pressure from Eric Chung. The margin between the two of them is merely 0.3. And here we can see in replay, just look at this. I mean, Christoph Herney is just 5 car lengths ahead before they've reached the timing line. Glad I called that the way I did, because I thought that was just, you know, a really shabby start from the Christoph Herney car, but he has been penalised for that and has served his drive-through penalty already. But Eric Chung was trying to take advantage as well. He was on the outside of Eric Prinot there, who incidentally is the driver that sets the fastest lap on lap 2, a 1:39.152. On board here with Aggie Smolka. And you can see the 199 car there of Ingvar Mattsson trying to get up the inside as well. There's Murat Kuhadaroglu. So the race being led by Eric Prinot. Then it's Eric Chung P2. Manuela Gostner is P3 before we find Vladimir Hladik and Thomas Gostner. So Eric Prinot sets the fastest lap, but I tell you what, Eric Chung is staying with him, isn't he? There's just 5 tenths between P1 and P2, and just a further 6 or 7 tenths between P2 and P3. In the AM standings at the moment, it's Giuseppe Romelli that's leading from Alexander Nussbaumer and Murat Kuhadaroglu. So the brakes squeal under protest from the Eric Chung car as he reels in Eric Prinot. So a race between the Ineco MP team and the Formula Racing team for whom Eric Chung drives. Eric Prinot then leading the race. He's had a couple of wins already this season, and actually Eric Chung has had 1 win as well, and he lights up the brake discs. As the light begins to fade here, we can really see those brakes being punished. So the Shell standings then, Prinot, Chung, Gostner, Hladik, Gostner, Gostner. Bit of a Gostner family affair, really, in the top 6. All 3 of them are in the top 6 of the standings for the Shell drivers. Another lap is put into the book then, and the first 5 minutes of the race is done and dusted. Eric Prinot now, his gap has been reduced to just 2 tenths between himself and Eric Chung. Eric Chung has got pace, and Eric Chung is looking very lively indeed. All of a sudden, Eric Prinot is looking a little bit raggy, if I'm honest with you, because probably of the pressure that's being put on him now by Eric Chung, who's all making sure that Eric Prinot's rear view mirror is full of the all-red car, which is running in P2. Manuela Gostner, of course, she could be the big beneficiary here, because Eric Chung just pushes a bit hard and runs wide there. I was going to say, if Manuela Gostner great news for her is for these two to be fighting very, very hard, and she could pick up the pieces if it should all go awry, as Eric Prinot, Eric Chung and Manuel Agostina all run a bit wide off that turn. Track limits is something that was looked at certainly during qualifying. There's Vladimir Hladik in the 144 car. He had a huge off in the first race at Spa-Francorchamps, but thankfully the only damage was to the car. He was perfectly okay. He was a non-starter in race 2, but he's back with the car completely repaired and certainly showing good pace now. So we've got the top 5 drivers are all Shell drivers. Then the next 4 are all of the AM drivers bunched up together. Giuseppe Romelli, Alexander Nussbaumer, Murat Kuhaduroglu and Agi Smolka. So the fastest lap of anyone now, well picked up by my producer alongside me, is Christoph Herney, having served his drive-through penalty. He has really got the bit between his teeth now, and he is lapping a full second quicker than anybody else on track. A 1:38.906 for Christoph Herney. There you can see the fastest lap comes from him, but he's mired down there in P19 at the moment because of that drive-through penalty. So the top 3 are beginning just a little bit to break away from Vladimir Hladik, but there's certainly the 4 of them are getting away from Thomas Gosner. There's a bit of a gap now between the top 4 and the rest of the pack. So Manuela Gosner, the quickest of the lady racers, that's for sure. In the AM standings, Giuseppe Romelli, Alexander Nussbaumer and Murat Kuhaduroglu, that hasn't changed. And Eric Prinot now has shown a clean pair of heels to Eric Chung, who is not being able to charge and challenge anything like he was on the opening laps. But a mistake from Eric Prinot would be all that Eric Chung needs to reduce that gap. And he is getting a bit closer now because Eric Prinot ran a bit wide through that turn, and that has allowed Eric Chung once again to try and seize the opportunity. It's all very well being as quick as the car ahead of you. To try and find a way by is not so easy. And Eric Prinot, hugely experienced racer, but then so too is Eric Chung. They're both certainly pushing very hard. Prinot does on occasions make mistakes, and Eric Chung will want to be in the best possible position to take advantage of any error of Eric Prinot's ahead of him. Completely different line there, you can see. Heavy braking then into turn number 1. Right-hander, then a very short blast, and it's a left-hander. Giuseppe Romelli for Rosso Corsa Pellin Racing is leading in the AMs, but Eric Prinot is leading in the Shells. There is the 136 car of Alexander Nussbaumer. So we have Ineco MP Racing leading the race, Formula Racing, then Ineco MP, and then Baron Motorsport. Now, the incident involving cars 117 and 112 is under investigation. Now, that's an incident that we didn't see on the screen. So, obviously, something went on between Rick Lovett and the 117 car of Dusan Palkra, the Scuderia Prague driver. So, Rick Lovett driving for the Octane 126 team this year. And now Eric Prinot and Eric Chung, their pace is such that they're breaking away a little bit from Manuela Gosner. So was it something right at the start then that involved Dusan Palkra and Rick Lovett? I don't think so. And this our second replay of the start, if only to reinforce just how Christoph Herney, now whether he thought that Eric Prinot was alongside him at this point or not, I don't know. But clearly he was always going to get penalised for that. So first 10 minutes of the race done and dusted, and Prinot and Chung, P1 and P2, they're gapped by 4 tenths last time around. As they cross the timing line now, Chung has brought it down by another tenth, so it's down to 3 tenths between the two of them now. And there is the lady racer Manuela Gosner in car number 183. Her best result so far this season has been a P3. It came in race 1 at the UK-based Silverstone circuit. And now she's right onto the tail of Eric Chung as Eric Prinot gets the bit between his teeth and gets the hurry uphill and increases the margin by 2 or 3 tenths over Eric Chung now. So Very little between the top three. But every driver that I've spoken to has said that this circuit is really quite technical. And it's certainly very difficult in certain turns to keep the car within the white lines. As I mentioned earlier on, it's something that was looked at very decisively by race control in terms of qualifying, and also in free practice, about drivers being warned about exceeding the track limits. At the moment, we've seen no such warnings with regard to track limits, as Thomas Gostner is under some pressure now from Giuseppe Ramelli. There's Murat Kuhadaroglu, and Agata Smolka, Aggie Smolka, is really pushing Murat Kuhadaroglu. We go on board with Aggie now. So the Rosso Corsa lady racer then, who has had a phenomenal debut in the Ferrari Challenge this year and has been on the podium, deservedly so, is chasing down Murat Kuhadaroglu, actually, for the final podium place in the AM classification. So if she could find her way past Murat Kuhadaroglu, she would be on the podium. There's a warning flag being given to Dusan Palkra, that Scuderia Prague driver that I mentioned that was being looked at for an incident with Rick Lovett. But we see Aggie Smolka now from a different angle, the 186 car of Agata Smolka. There is Murat Kuhadaroglu, and around has gone Eric Prinot. The race leader has gone around. Now, Eric Chung was keeping the pressure on him. He rejoins. But Eric Prinot has dropped down the order. So he has come in just ahead of Giuseppe Ramelli. And Thomas Gostner has also fallen down the order as well. Von Skeltermar is making his way up the order. Unbelievably, he's up to P11 from right at the back of the grid. We don't quite catch enough of that. Was there contact with Eric Chung, or was it just sheer pressure? Can't see any evidence of any damage to the back of Prinot's car or to the front of Eric Chung's car. So Eric Chung now is absolutely flying because he's leading this race, being chased by Manuela Gostner, the lady racer. And Eric Prinot at the moment is off the podium because he's P4. So quick reactions from Eric Prinot to get the car back to pointing in the right direction and off the grass. I'd like to see that again, but from a little bit further back, so that we could see whether it was just a mistake that was provoked by Eric Chung keeping the pressure on. So a change of lead then at just approaching half distance of the race, and Vladimir Hladic finds himself in a podium place currently. There'll be two separate podiums, one of course for the Shell drivers and one for the AM drivers, and around goes the Dusan Palkra car number 117. And around went Thomas Gostner as well. I don't think there was any contact from Giuseppe Ramelli. I think he just went round on his own. So that's why Thomas Gostner has fallen down the order, in fact, to P12 behind Von Skeltermar, who's made up a tremendous amount of places from P20 on the grid. Some 8 places he's made up in the first half of this race. He's actually now P7, as you can see. So there is Manuela Gostner, who is P2. Then it's Vladimir Hladic, P3. Unfortunately for us, the P1, 2 and 3 drives are all gapped by about 1.5 seconds. So they're fairly evenly spaced out, as you can see. So Manuela Gostner with another brilliant drive, and Eric Chung just taking his chances as well. Here's Aggie Smolka on the inside of the Alexander Nussbaumer car, and Aggie Smolka runs really, really wide. That allows Corinna Gostner through. Here's Manuela Gostner, so Agata Smolka off the track, but back onto the tarmac once again. And Eric Prinot, just looking at his lap times, well, they're in the 40s, whereas the only 2 drivers in the 39s at the moment are Eric Chung and Manuela Gostner, of course, with clear track ahead of him. Here's Eric Prinot then, chasing as hard as he possibly can, but he has got Giuseppe Ramelli right behind him. There you can see Aggie Smolka, who's rejoined behind Corinna Gostner. Ironically, what that means is that Aggie Smolka, in that mode of trying to overtake, on board there and trying to get past Corinna Gostner, Aggie has actually gained a podium place out of that, because the car that got past her was in the shell drivers category. So actually Aggie finds herself in a podium place, because it's Ramelli, Kuhada-Ruglu and Agata Smolka then. And here we can see, big contact on the back of the Corinna Gostner car. They're fighting over. And Corinna Gostner actually goes around. So that means that Corinna Gostner is now going to be dumped down the order. I think that might be looked at by the race stewards. That was a question of, I'm going to keep my foot in here and hope for the best. Well, unfortunately, hope for the best. Sent another driver around. Not sure Agata Smolka will end up on the podium after seeing that. Unfortunately, she is in the classification P3, but that was a real nerf, wasn't it? Okay, 13 minutes. There's been plenty of drama in this race so far. So, watch out, Murat Kuhada-Ruglu. You got a very fast lady after you now. So, Aggie Smolka then in P3 with various bits of debris hanging off the front of the car following the contact with Corinna Gostner. You can see the incident involving those cars is under investigation. Not altogether surprised by that. So we're on board with Aggie Smolka then. And you almost feel the fillings in your teeth rattling as she goes across those rumble strips. Eric Chung has extended his lead to very nearly 2 seconds now over Manuela Gostner. If it stays this way, it will be the best result for Manuela Gostner in the season so far. Eric Chung, of course, as I mentioned, has already had a win this season. And he's got another 12 minutes to keep driving at the pace he is to secure yet another win. And he's not making any mistakes at all and just increasing that margin between himself and Manuela Gostner. The official Ferrari GT driver Andrea Bertolini is here this weekend, and of course he will be in race control, offering a driver's eye perspective into race control. I wonder what he made of the Aggie Smolka move. Well, I'll tell you what he thought. She's got a drive-through penalty, and I have to say I'm far from surprised from that. Giuseppe Ramelli then, the leader in the AMS. Drive-through penalty for car number 186. You'll see that on your screen in a few moments from now. There it is. So drive-through penalty for Agata Smolka. That will take her out of the podium place and elevate Alexander Nussbaumer into that third and final AM podium place. Thomas Gostner has come into the pit lane. So that must be for some technical reason, because Thomas Gostner hasn't been penalised in any way at all, to our knowledge. There's the 172 car, which is being driven by Giuseppe Ramelli, the leader in the AMS. Murat Kuhada-Ruglu is P2 in the AMS, P3 in the AMS. Well, it is nominally Agata Smolka, but it will become Alexander Nussbaumer when Aggie Smolka takes her drive-through penalty. Chung, Gostner, Haladik, the 1, 2, 3. And Laurent Demus, is that? No, it's Christophe Herney trying to make his way. No, it is Laurent Demus. I beg your pardon. Laurent Demus in this battle with Dusan Palkra. And just dives out of that. Showed his face to the inside of the 117 car. So this battle that is going on is for P17 in the race. But it's for P8 or P9 in the AM classification at the moment. Under 10 minutes remaining. 2.7 seconds is the gap that Eric Chung has over Manuela Gostner at the moment at the head of the field. And into the pit lane comes Aggie Smolka then to take her drive-through penalty, which means that Alexander Nussbaumer is elevated up into P9. It also means that Fons Skeltermar is into P8. It's been an extraordinary drive from von Skeltermar. Thomas Gostner goes around. I don't know at that point whether Thomas Gostner was just touched by, I think it was Christoph Herney. Just around on his own. So Aggie Smolka then serves her drive-through penalty. Gives it a footful and is back out on track. She's going to rejoin around P17, I think. So just behind. No, she gets out in front of Dusan Palkra. Now, the incident involving cars number 161 and 162 is under investigation. Well, 161 is Thomas Gostner, 162 is Christoph Herney. So from our angle, it didn't look like there was any contact, but perhaps there was. Perhaps, of course, race control have a myriad of different camera angles to look at, more than we certainly do in our TV studio here. So perhaps they saw something different to us. Here comes Manuela Gostner then, who's now 3.5 seconds behind Eric Chung. And in fairness, there's no further action after investigation from cars 161, 162. They're obviously listening to us, aren't they? We felt there wasn't any contact. Okay, that box is ticked. This is Rick Lovett in car number 112. Still struggling really to keep with that livery for Rick Lovett. Is Christoph Herney now on the inside of Corinna Gostner? No, not quite. Rick Lovett changed his team this year and went with the Octane 126 team. And different livery for him this year, the Canadian racer. So Christoph Herney then, who of course was the first driver to take a drive-through penalty, is up into P11 now, behind Corinna Gostner. And is beginning to really put the pressure on the lady racer ahead. Christoph Herney then side by side with Corinna Gostner now. He's got the turn of speed. We go on board as darkness begins to descend here at the Misano World Circuit. They remain side by side, but he does go through eventually. So Christoph Herney ahead of Corinna Gostner. So Corinna tries to fight back, but Christoph Herney, a wily driver who has got many, many years of race experience in not only GT cars, but Formula racing cars as well. So with that overtake done and dusted, that puts Christoph Herney into the P10 position overall, but P7 in the Shell drivers. Next in his target sights is the 136 car of Alexander Nussbaumer, who is P3 in the AM classification, but he's running P9 in the race overall. So Christoph Herney continuing to lap quicker than anybody else. He's got the pace, he's got the speed, and of course he's got the adrenaline pumping now following that drive-through penalty. And we just look at the replay of this overtake as he was about to do another overtake. So through on the inside of Corinna Gostner. And I'm pretty sure that Christoph Herney has got past Alexander Nussbaumer as well. So Eric Chung, Manuela Gostner, Eric Chung is just going about every single lap. He's the quickest bar Christian Kinch on track at the moment, certainly as far as the last laps are concerned. Christian Kinch all of a sudden has got the hurry up. He's in P7. So there is Manuela Gostner, the lady racer, who is P2. And this was Corinna Gostner with a bold and ambitious move on Alexander Nussbaumer, who's really feeling it now, isn't he? Eric Chung is feeling the love, though, because he's driven a fantastic race, hasn't he? He's got past the Eric Prinot car and has led this race without fault, without problem, without looking vulnerable in any way, shape or form, for lap after lap after lap. Manuela Gostner in P2, Vladimir Hladic is P3. The top three in the AMS is Giuseppe Ramelli, Murat Kuhadaroglu and Alexander Nussbaumer. Now there is Murat Kuhadaroglu. Behind him is Christian Kinch. Then we see the von Skeltermar car. been a remarkable drive from von Skeltermar when you consider that he started P20, finds himself in P8 now. So second in the AM drivers, Murat Kuhadaroglu in the 133 car. And we're into the final stages of this Coppa Shell race. Just 4 minutes remaining. The incident involving Corinna Gostner and Alexander Nussbaumer is under investigation. I'm not surprised by that. That was quite a bold move. And Christian Kinch here having a real go at Murat Kuhadaroglu. Now, if, in my opinion, if Murat had any sense, rather than getting involved in a fight, because they're running in two separate classifications here, before Christian Kinch gets too feisty, I'd let him go by, because it won't make any difference to the classification in terms of them both running in different classes. However, Murat at the moment is able to show him a clean pair of heels. Giuseppe Romelli, Murat Kuhadaroglu and Alexander Nussbaumer. This is our overall race leader, though, and the leader in the Shell drivers, Eric Chung. For Formula Racing, doing a great job with just a couple or more laps to run. And who is that off? I reckon it's von Skeltermar. Sure enough, having done such a very, very good job, he's come out ahead of Ingvar Madsen. So it'll be P11 now for von Skeltermar. He had got up to P8. Been a remarkable drive in a spare car, because his car was damaged in quali. And here is Murat Kuhadaroglu, then is Christian Kinch, and then von Skeltermar just carrying too much speed. Now, he did a very good job in keeping the car going, because at one point he was in the gravel there. The car could have bogged down and beached, but he had the presence of mind to keep the momentum, keep the car rolling, and pull it out of trouble. And he has returned onto the track in P11. He'll be bitterly disappointed with that, having done such a great job moving up the order. Eric Prinot, since his spin around, has lost a bit of confidence and hasn't seemed to be able to get it back together again. A warning flag has been given to Corinna Gostner. The leader in the AMS is Giuseppe Romelli. And there you can see Giuseppe Romelli is chasing Eric Prinot. Then we have this fight between Murat Kuhadaroglu and Christian Kinch. And Christoph Herney is up into P8 now. And when you consider that Christoph Herney had a drive-through penalty as well, which knocked him down the order, it's been a fairly substantial recovery from him. We're on the final lap now. So you could just see, possibly at the back of this picture, no, not quite. You can't quite see the Christoph Herney car come in. So it is the last lap for this man, Eric Chung, as Christian Kinch gets warned about track limits. The first track limits warning we've seen, actually. And to be fair, we're right at the end of the race, where the tyre degradation will, of course, be at its greatest, and grip is even harder to come by. But Eric Chung, it's been an outstanding drive from him. He now leads by some 6.7 seconds over Manuela Gostner. Then it's Vladimir Hladek and Eric Prinot. Oh, and you can see, I was talking about tyre degradation and the fact that the tyres have gone. There's the warning flag being given to Christian Kinch. Eric Chung then, who has built himself up a very reasonable cushion of some 6.7 seconds. Now it's up to 6.9 as he goes through the speed trap at 274 kilometers per hour. Eric Chung, with just a few turns to do, will head towards the checkered flag to seal his second victory of the season. One turn, turn 16, the left-hander between him and the checkered flag, and race win number 2 of the season for Eric Chung. Manuela Gostner will take P2. There she goes, crossing the line. P3 will go the way of Vladimir Hladek. And von Skeltermar dropped down to P16. So Chung, Gosner, Haladik, Eric Prinot, Giuseppe Ramelli, Murat Kuhaduroglu in the race overall. Christoph Herney crosses the line in P8. Christian Kinch is just ahead of him in P7. So Alexander Nussbaumer wins the final place on the podium by taking P3 in the AMS. Murat Kuhaduroglu P2 in the AMS, but the winner in the AMS is Giuseppe Ramelli. And here comes Agi Smolka then, who does not make a podium. And Agi Smolka has got herself up to P15, following that drive-through penalty. So lots of dramas, but overall a good race for the Coppa Shell drivers. And there in the 197 car, Leonard Winterholder. And there is Agi Smolka, who was on for a podium. Were it not for that really rather bold and ambitious move of trying to get past Corinna Gosner. So we stay on board with Agi Smolka, then the Rosso Corsa racer. And there, the classification in the top three, then Eric Chung, Manuela Gosner, and Vladimir Haladik in the Shell drivers, and in the AM drivers, Giuseppe Ramelli, Murat Kuhaduroglu, and Alexander Nussbaumer. Great drive from Eric Chung. Kept his head. Manuela Gosner being congratulated. And in fact, all the drivers down there being congratulated. Nice to see Johnny Lawson and Niklas Nielsen from the Trofeo Pirelli Formula Racing team congratulating their driver Eric Chung. And there is Fons Keltemar, who probably will feel somewhat disappointed, having driven so well. Here come the highlights then. And as the lights went green, Christoph Herney had obviously got something caught underneath the accelerator pedal, because he was miles ahead of everyone else. And Eric Prinot, the pole sitter, had Manuela Gosner and Eric Chung charging hard, as was Thomas Gosner right alongside Vladimir Haladik. But Christoph Herney was up the road, but it wouldn't be for very long, to be honest with you. You can see the Ineco MP team, who were disappointed that their driver Eric Prinot went round, because he would take up the lead of the race following Christoph Herney receiving a drive-through penalty. Around went Thomas Gosner, and Agi Smolka was making big strides to try and get on the podium, and actually this move meant that she got onto the podium. This move, regrettably, meant that she ended up with a drive-through penalty. Ingvar Madsen was another one that was struggling for grip, and Laurent Demouse was chasing down Dusan Palkra. Thomas Gosner would go around, and unfortunately that would be the end of Thomas Gosner's race. Corinna Gosner and Christoph Herney. Christoph Herney returning from that drive-through penalty for the jump start, and then a very bold move from Corinna Gosner on the Alexander Nussbaumer car. But in the end, Eric Chung would take the win. And a very convincing win it was by some 6.5 seconds. And taking the win in the AMS, it was going to be Giuseppe Ramelli. So Manuel Agostina continuing to be congratulated, and Giuseppe Ramelli also being congratulated down there as the sun sets. Confirmation of the classification on screen for you. Top 10 shell drivers: Chung, Gosner, Hladek. Those we'll see on the podium. Then it was Prinot, Kinch, Herney, Gosner, Lovett, Lindroth, and von Skeltemer in P10. We'll bring you the AM classification in just a moment. But first, the podium is being readied. And that is where we will be heading next to see the celebrations of the drivers up there on those 3 hallowed steps. So we await the drivers then, who are preparing themselves just behind the podium. Just out of our camera shot there. But you can hear Michele Mambelli about to bring the drivers out onto the podium. So, Vladimir Hladek, Manuel Agostina are there. Here comes the race winner, Eric Chung. And the winning team, Formula Racing, represented on the podium as well, as the national anthem will play out. So the anthem plays out for Eric Chung then. For P2, Manuel Agostina. P3 for Vladimir Hladek. And the trophies being presented by Enrico Galliera, the Ferrari Senior Vice President, Commercial and Marketing, who is here. Makes the trophy presentation, first of all, to Vladimir Hladek, then to Manuel Agostina. And, of course, the race-winning trophy will go the way of Eric Chung. Formula Racing, led by Alan Jurgensen, who's not the man who's up on the podium. He shares around those podium celebrations to make sure all the team get recognised for their effort, and that's always good to see as the drivers all get together for their photographs to be taken, including Mr. Galliera. And then it will be time for the champagne to be sprayed. And Manuel is going to be quickest with the champagne and make sure that Eric Chung gets suitably covered. You know what, Ferrari think of everything, and in the Drivers' Championship, Eric Prinot now is being chased by Eric Chung, good and proper. There's only 6 points between them. That could all change in the race tomorrow. Christoph Herney, P3. Ferrari think of everything. They even have one of their race trucks here, you know, with a washing machine. So if the overalls get 2, soaked in champagne. That can be prepared for tomorrow. It's no problem. And there, a super slow-mo of the celebrations. And with a spraying motion like that, Mr. Chung, you know you'd make a good fireman. So that's the classification for the AMs comes up now. Giuseppe Romelli, Murat Kuadaroglu, then it was Nussbaumer, Madsen, Pittori, Smolka, Palkra, Laurent Demus, and Leonardo Winterholder. Incidentally, Christoph Herney went from P2 to P20 to P8. Von Skeltermar P20 to P8 to P16. Like some form of chart show here, isn't it, with all those numbers? And of course we have the AM podium to come. Drivers being brought out onto the podium now. So Alexander Nussbaumer, Murat Kuadaroglu, and Giuseppe Romelli. National anthem time. Anthem plays out. Baseball caps go back on. The P1, P2 and P3 baseball caps provided by Pirelli. And once again, Enrico Galliera, the Ferrari Senior Vice President, Commercial and Marketing, making the trophy presentations in reverse order. To Alexander Nussbaumer, to Murat Kuadaroglu, and now to the race winner, Giuseppe Romelli. And of course, from the team's trophy presented as well. They all bunched together for the photographs. And an extended version of the photographs being taken. Such is the demand from the media attention here. And now it's time for the champagne. And Giuseppe Romelli getting it from both sides there before he's even been able to shake his bottle. Says to heck with it, I'm having a slug, thank you. Ingvar Madsen is still leading the points and finished P4 in that race. Alexander Nussbaumer P2, being chased now by Giuseppe Romelli, and Agi Smolka is P4 in the points. Per Nielsen, who we hope to see back on track very soon, is P5. So that's the way it looks in the AM Drivers' Championship for Coppa Shell. All the information, of course, at races.ferrari.com, the official website where you'll find out everything you need to know with regards to the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell, and also for Trofeo Pirelli for that matter. Urge you to take a look at that, where you can also be enjoying qualifying as well. Time for our show cam to music now. Beg pardon, it is the top three in slow-mo in each class. Oh, what a super slow reveal of the Ferrari Challenge logo of it. Official website where you'll find out everything you need to know with regards to the Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell, and also for Trofeo Pirelli for that matter. Urge you to take a look at that, where you can also be enjoying qualifying as well. Time for our show cam to music now. Beg pardon, it is the top three in slow-mo in each class. Oh, what a super slow reveal of the Ferrari Challenge logo of it. Official website where you'll find out everything you need to know with regards to the Ferrari Challenge Coppa shell, and also for Trofeo Pirelli for that matter. Urge you to take a look at that, where you can also be enjoying qualifying as well. Time for our show cam to music now. Beg pardon, it is the top three in slow-mo in each class. Oh, what a super slow reveal of the Ferrari Challenge logo of it. So the top three in the shell drivers: Vladimir Hladek, P3, Manuela Gosner, the lady racer, P2, and the winner for the second time this season